All right, so now we're recording. Thanks everybody for coming. It's just a little quick. Try to keep it at under 20 minutes for just a junior Westside Junior meeting. You guys have any questions? I think probably just keep it moving. Save until the end. I'm not going to monitor the chat too close because when PowerPoint's up, it's hard to monitor the chat. So if you have any questions, that you either ask them later or put them in an email or something like that. So we can just kind of get through this quick for everybody's time, because we also do have the junior premiere one scheduled at 7:30. So first of all, let me just jump in here right away with the PowerPoint. Oh, I just got to make it like a slideshow. Come on now. Hold on, sorry about that, folks. Let me get that.
How come nobody else's video is on? I don't see any faces.
They don't need to be on the video, I guess.
Oh, it'd be more fun if we could see you guys.
Well, I'm going to be putting up the slideshow, Connie, so they won't be able to see us anyway.
There we go. There's Daniel March.
Uh-oh. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, everybody. Good gravy. What am I doing here? All right, great. All right. So like I said, here is well, PowerPoint. We'll just kind of talk over it for the most part. Good gravy. Now it's not working again either. All right, we'll just do it in this mode without the slideshow. The slideshow. From the beginning. Oh, sorry, guys. All right. All right, thank you guys for coming. We don't get to see and interact with parents for this ages as much as some of the coaches that work with the younger kids. A lot of the younger kids, the parents are by necessity there for practice. Most of you guys do a drop-off or a carpool, something like that. So we get a little less face time with you guys than with some of the other age groups. So I thought it was important to kind of have a quick little meeting here. I'd also love to get a parent group social for the two groups, or for the three groups, counting Eastside Junior as well at some point. So that would be awesome. All right, so introduction. I'm Jacob. Connie will introduce yourself. And then I'll mention the coaches that aren't here. So I'm Jacob. I grew up here in Madison, swam for Madison West, swam for BD, which was a team before BAC, swam for Shorewood. Have been coaching with BAC since the fall of '99. I was telling the kids earlier, like I've coached this entire century, which makes me feel and sound very old. I also coached Shorewood. I also coached Maple Bluff. I also coached Goodman. I also coached the West girls. I've been around and coached a bunch of different groups for a long time. I have two kids. Lily is 5 in a couple weeks here. Goes to 4K here at Midvale. Jesse is 2.5. Jesse's my special little guy. He has something called Williams syndrome, that it's sort of just a genetic thing that affects sort of development and growth and development and stuff like that. But the last couple months, he has just blossomed. It's been a long first 2.5 years. But then the last 3 months has really been seeing him taking off. So I talk about my kids a lot in coaching. Like I make parallels, but also just kind of funny stories to entertain the kids. So I thought that was worth mentioning. Connie, want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Connie Martin. I have been coaching with Badger Aquatics for 22 years, something like that. So I've coached little Badgers on up. And I also have 3 daughters who are now grown adults, and they all swam for Badger Aquatics, and they all swam for the University of Wisconsin. And I just enjoy working with the kids a lot, obviously, because I've been here for a long time and love all the coaches and all the parents as well. So happy to be here.
Awesome. And then Connie, I got a spiel for you for DRYLAND worked in later. So
okay.
we can keep an eye on that. Yeah, I mean, Connie mentioned it, but she always downplays it a little bit. Like, yeah, Connie's 3 girls all swam for UW. Ivy was on the national team. Ivy went to Kazan, Russia with the United States national team to compete internationally. Her daughters are all wicked awesome swimmers. And we haven't done this in a while, but we used to have Connie give some perspective on, I always felt at the time, Connie and Tom were very, very good swim parents. And this was before when the girls weren't what they became. And it bore out. The girls all had phenomenal careers and are all phenomenal young women. So, other coaches, excuse me. Marin coaches mostly with the junior premier, but the junior kids might see her a little bit. She swam and grew up in Brookfield, swam for Illinois, is a professor at UW for the next month or two, and then she's moving to Illinois. Let's see, Emily Schwabe has coached for back off and on. She didn't coach this last fall, winter. She's just too busy with other stuff. She's also the Edgewood coach. She's coached Shorewood and Tacoma and done a lot in the area. I'm sorry, the Edgewood High School girls coach. She was too busy this fall going back to school for sports psychology. So that's an awesome, she was a very accomplished swimmer, was still very good when she was older, swam for LSU and UW. So she has quite the perspective to bring into things. Chris is going to help us at least on Mondays, maybe some on the weekends. Derek's going to help us at least on Tuesdays, or I guess not, this group doesn't have it on Tuesdays, but Derek might help some on the weekends as well. The weekends are going to be kind of a floating ones, but the ones you're going to see most often are myself and Connie and Schwabe and maybe Chris as well.
There's Andrew too, which helps.
Oh yeah, thank you. That's right. He's helping with the DRYLAND. Yeah, Andrew is a younger coach and one of our newer coaches. It's awesome. We always love the fact that we're so close to the university. We get to recruit these coaches that were phenomenal swimmers, but not UW caliber, that are now studying UW one thing or another. So Andrew grew up swimming in Milwaukee, very good swimmer, just not UW caliber, and now is active with their club team and helping us coach. And he's we'll send an email when it gets out, but he is going to be, I don't know if you've seen the promos for the Judge Steve Harvey show, but believe it or not, he's going to be on it sometime this summer. So that'll be kind of fun.
Actually, with I think it airs April 12th.
Oh, okay.
I think April 12th.
Okay, I gotta write that down and make sure we let everybody know. I think it's gonna be really funny. Really fun. All right, great week one. Tons of great energy. So excited. I mean, like, this is why we set the season up the way we did, to have a break. The kids are very obviously ready to come back. They're ready for it. They're very excited. Very excited to see. I saw so many big hugs with friends and stuff like that. Very cool. One thing we do have to keep working on, I would say it's more the boys than the girls, but challenging that energy appropriately, right? Boys were a little bit squirrely. We'll just keep knocking them for it and keep reminding them the expectations. And I have every confidence it'll get reeled in, but just something to keep in mind. Great attendance. This is what I was figuring out at the end here. I managed to capture the attendance off of the kind of Google sheet that we use. Green is a kid that was there that day, and white is not. Obviously, there are a couple kids that haven't started yet for a couple different reasons. Wednesday a little lighter, Friday and Saturday a little lighter, but overall, I mean, there's a bunch that came all five. There's way more 3s, 4s, and 5s than 1s and 2s. So if we have this level of average attendance for the year, I think we're going to see a ton of improvement this spring. Basic schedule: Monday, practice is longer, doesn't include DRYLAND. No practice for the junior group on Tuesday. Wednesday, nothing really of note. I just didn't want to leave it off so people get confused and think there was no Wednesday. Wednesday is just kind of a normal hour and a half practice. Thursday, we've been doing, we'll call them Thursday thoughts or something else. Probably start out with mostly icebreakers, but we'll morph it into a little bit of swim education. Basically, we have 15 minutes to start every Thursday that we're not in the pool yet. And we could do DRYLAND, but we do such phenomenal DRYLAND that Connie leads on Monday. I didn't want to do a really poor version of it myself on Thursday. So we thought we'd use that time for, like I said, icebreakers, maybe some swim education. Probably a lot of those weeks we'll show at least a couple-minute video that will pertain to what we're doing in the water, but just, they don't need anything special for that. They can just do that in their suits, or they can do that parkas and whatever, just a quick beginning to Thursday. 2 options on Friday, again, for your convenience, 5:15 and 6:45, because 5:15 is pretty early. The split gender thing on Saturday was really fun the first time. We're gonna do a little bit more racing. We did a lot of sort of interval acclimation and paying attention to your times and adjusting your pace for kick sets. But we'll do a lot more racing as we go on these Saturdays. Upcoming changes, nothing super on the schedule. There's way less changes. There's way less daily acute changes in the spring than there is in the fall and winter, because there's not as many high school meets, there's not as many club meets. We will, with this group, once we get outside in the second half of May, once Shorewood's open, and we don't have a firm date for that yet, we will probably have some opportunities to get outside and do some long course stuff. So that'll change things, but no major changes coming up. Communication. Obviously, we send a lot of mass emails. I don't know if I'll get one done tonight, but you'll definitely get 1 or maybe even 2 tomorrow that go to kind of the whole team or a large chunk of the team. Remember, we archive those on the website. Obviously the weekly group emails go out. If you haven't done so already, listed on the bottom, it says transition to kid-led communication. If you haven't done so already, please add your swimmers email account, assuming they have an email they check regularly, so that they get those as well. If you can't figure out how to do that, you can always just forward them the email. We do tell the kids they are responsible for the information in those emails, but we also kind of go over everything on Mondays for like kind of our Monday meetings. You certainly feel free to email me for any questions. I call them sort of the eventual questions, like things that need to be answered somewhat, eventually. Anything urgent, you can text. I didn't put my number on the slide because I'm going to put it on YouTube, but you guys have it. It's in an email. I'll include it in the next weekly email. The texting, the limiting on the texting thing is not so much like, I mean, I guess it is irritating to get text, but not really. It's more like if you text me in the middle of a practice, hey, any advice on what events Bobby should do at the next meet, and I read it, I'm gonna forget to respond to it. Whereas an email, it's archived, it's in there until I've responded, and then I file it away somewhere else. So unless it's urgent, email is probably the better way to do it. And what I didn't put on the slide is obviously you can just pop in if you want. We said most parents this age don't pop in as much as the younger kids, but you're certainly welcome to. There's no restrictions on coming into practices. Communication, swimmers swim, coaches coach, and parents parent. That is sort of a mantra. USA Swimming has had a version of that up on their website at times. Same with like ASCA, American Swim Coaches Association. This is sort of the tried and true recipe for kind of how we do things. I put some qualifiers in here because I do feel strongly in the overall message and intent of this, but I feel like if I just put those 6 words or 7 words up, that's a little bit of like overbearing, mind your business. So swimmers swim, coaches coach, and parents parent, but there's lots of overlap in that area, right? There are a lot of things. Swimmers are responsible for executing what they're supposed to be doing in the pool, but obviously us as coaches are watching it as well. Swimmers swim, but parents need to parent and get them there to swim. So there's just lots of overlap between those different areas. We all have different areas of expertise. I hope no one is offended if we say that Connie and I know a lot more about swimming than the average parent or possibly any of the parents. We've been doing this a really long time. We have a lot of expertise in that area. We similarly will not be offended if you claim to know your children better than we do, right? And how to motivate them, or what might work for them, or what they need, or what helps or what hurts, that kind of thing. So we're definitely open to any kind of input that you have, especially related to your kids, because you know your kids a lot better than we know our kids, or we know your kids. Everybody working. So the last thing, everybody working together. Yes, those are our roles within the team, but it takes all of us working together. The parents need to get their kids there. They need to get kids there on time and healthy and fed and happy. And the coaches need to run stimulating practices that are challenging, but not too challenging. And the swimmers need to execute them, stuff like that. So it takes all of us to do a really good job with our roles to get kind of the optimal outcome. Always asked, but please don't assume. So my mom taught kindergarten for like 36 years in Wanakee. And she, by the end, we'd be telling people at like parent teacher conferences or like the early season kind of open house, I guess, at the beginning of the year, I promise not to believe everything your children tell me about what happens at home if you don't assume everything they say that happens at school is the gospel truth, right? There are perspectives, anything. We're not jerks, but we might say something, especially if we're trying to challenge a kid or push a kid, we might say something that upsets them. But more often than not, when a kid has come home really upset about something that happened at practice, more often than not, it's a miscommunication and misunderstanding and something we got to work through. A great example is I was talking to a swimmer just this week about what kind of I viewed as their potential. And the way I started the conversation was, I think if you didn't do a very good job of practice these next 6 months, and we did a pretty bad job of coaching you, or I guess this spring and summer, you would still be a really good summer league swimmer. Like even if we did a bad job with you, but I could see at the beginning as I was explaining it, they heard bad job and they were like, no, what, and I think I got through to them in the end, and they understood the point, which was like, you're going to be good no matter what. Like you don't have to do a lot to be pretty good. But man, if you dial in and I do a good job, we do a good job coaching you, you could be really special this summer and beyond. And so hopefully they got that message. But if they didn't, and all they heard was coach said I don't do a good job, instead of firing off like an angry email, ask, like I promise you, we're not saying anything super mean to your kids on purpose. Spring only versus spring summer. So right now we're in the spring session. We have not asked anyone's registration commitment for the summer. That will hopefully change this week. We're going to send a mass email. We're waiting to get sort of the summer schedule set. And one of the things we're waiting on is we're hoping to get some pool time, maybe even for this group at the UW pool in the summer, which would be great. But they're sort of dragging their feet on committing to that or not. So we're hoping to get an answer this week. If not, we might have to move on and make plans without them. So we'll have some more information. We'd obviously love to see, I would love to see this entire group do summer as well. Summer can be, I put replacement last because that's not what we push. That's not typically what most of our families are going for. But they can be certainly a great addition or a supplement for some of the rec programming that you have. Both Westside Junior and Junior Premier are sort of spring summer groups. Like Connie's DRYLAND program isn't an 8-week one, it's like a 17-week one. We talk a lot about long course swimming. Obviously, if you're just doing the spring, you won't be doing a lot of long course. Kind of the meets we're gearing up towards, it's fine. If you are in fact planning on doing only spring and that's the way it works out, it's not like any of this is harmful. It's just sort of when we address the group generally, we're going to be talking about it as if the bulk of them are spring summer. Meet plans. I'm not going to talk about this a lot. You guys have seen these. There's some spring long course meets. The back short course may open. There's also a Verona short course open. We're going to send some mass emails about these summer meets. I mean, we've hyped it up a lot, but we're going to hype it up a lot more. That Jack Pettinger, we are very excited about that. And then there's a lot of other special summer meet opportunities, including zones, which is a great goal for some of our junior and junior premier kids. Group goals and philosophy. So basically within the group, we want to continue to foster the enjoyment and love of the sport while helping transition swimmers from an age group to a senior mentality. Junior swimmers stay grounded in good technique and fundamentals, but quality training and hard work become increasingly important to their success. So some of the fundamentals and the technique, that acronym is thing of the day of the week. So last week was just basically pushing off and the body position we want when we push off. We did 5 minutes of that, 5 to 10 minutes of that every day last week. This week's gonna be more flip turns. We're gonna have some open turns later. And so a thing every week that we spend a little bit of time on every day. We're working on 3 core drills for each stroke. So every kid has a couple reference drills that they're very good at. We talk a lot about mindful swimming versus plodding and slopping along. That's a huge thing at this age. As we start to, increase the amount of yardage or just swimming that they do. If they're just sort of survival swimming, that's not great for their technique. And we're going to really focus on underwater kicks this spring. So the training, it's obviously step up from trophy age-wise. This is the group that has self-selected that they're a little bit more committed than the middle school group, which is a lot of overlap in the age. As you get older, it's more about training and sets than just technique. You have to hold your technique over longer and harder sets. And lots of kick. We'll be doing lots of kick this spring. Part of that's long course readiness. Part of that's a way to get them tired without their technique falling apart. We did a great set the other day. There was a hard 75 kick and then 3 25s of really good form of swim. And we'll repeat not that same set, but sets like that a lot. Put thing of the day of the week in there as well, because we'll incorporate that into training. The near daily underwater kick, that's a technical thing, but we will incorporate that into training. We do a time 100 kick, and then we do pace sets based off of that. So if your swimmer can kick a 100 kick with a board in 1 minute and 40, we might say, hey, let's do 6 50s on 2 minutes and try to hold 50 or better on all of them. And I think you can, because your time's 140, cutting that in half is 50. So they have sort of individualized goals there. We'll also do some test sets that are kind of threshold aerobic freestyle, like 8 100s free on 145 or something like that. This group, along with, you can't train unless you can manage your intervals. You can't train unless you have an awareness of the time that you're going, how effort corresponds to time. Ooh, 7:21, I gotta hustle. And we'll do a lot more purposeful swimming. We already talked about mindfulness. Training issues should be in quote. These aren't really issues, but like being late, we talked about this. We talked about this a couple times this week. Late happens, right? I guess if you're always late, then maybe we'll talk about it, but like late and not coming in and disrupting and getting in right away is no problem, right? A lot of kids are doing a lot of activities. So practice starts at 6:45 and you come in at 6:55 because you had baseball across town till 6:30. Who cares? We're not going to yell at you for that. You come in and disrupt practice, or you come in and it takes you 10 minutes to get in, we're going to hustle you around. Acute injuries, we do have some kids, hey, I twisted my ankle at practice, very easy to adjust the day. Chronic injuries, we do have some of this in our swimmers that, just can't do X or have to do a limited amount of Y or Z. We're very good at managing that. We've seen all sorts of injuries over the years. Miscellaneous stuff, sometimes we've seen a lot of stuff, right? We've seen a lot of mental health stuff, or just just different medical things or mental things or whatever that we're good at dealing with. A great example is asthma. I was talking to somebody that needs their inhaler the other day. You don't have to ask for permission to get your inhaler. If you need your inhaler, get out and get it. But hopefully, if there's a coach there, tell us where you're getting it. But I would never want a kid to sit there like waiting to get a coach's attention to take their inhaler. I was listening to a podcast the other day with a coach from down in Texas, a guy named Jared Murphy, who used to coach here in the early 2000s. And he was talking about kind of this age. His group's a little bit older than the junior kids, I think. But he was talking about we're allowed to have an off day, like thinking about whatever all of you parents do professionally, like you want to go in and do a good job, but sometimes you're off, right? Sometimes it's not your very best day. And if we don't think we can allow our 11-year-olds to have that same kind of, not excuse, but release, then I think that's problematic. DRYLAND training, Connie, I'm not gonna have too much time for you, but this is a huge improvement. I was listening to an ad just today for like one of those like total sports performance places. They're talking about how important it is. But the thing is, like those other sports, there is a lot of overlap, right? Like a lot of the stuff you need to do if you're a lacrosse player versus a different sport is really comparable and similar. But swimming is a whole different thing. So Connie, can you talk for a minute?
Yeah, I'll just make it really short. I've been doing this for 30 years, so 30 plus years. So I've got a lot of background in the fitness field. And last summer took a course, certification called Surge Strength. And it was basically about relating the DRYLAND with the swimming in a nutshell. And I'm super excited about it. And I'm going to try to just kind of add a little paragraph in the weekly email so that you guys can kind of get a feel of what we're doing in DRYLAND as well. And I will for sure be doing appropriate things for the kids' age and group, et cetera, et cetera. But hopefully we're going to see some really cool things happening with this correlation between the DRYLAND and the swimming. Obviously, it's going to help make them become better athletes, and better athletes are better swimmers. So we're going to do a good job. I'm excited.
Awesome. Thank you, Connie. Sorry, the camera jostled there for a second. I had to go find a charger. My computer's about to die. So training a team and group philosophy. So this is kind of Back's overall philosophy, but applies to these groups as well. We want progressive and incremental improvement. We want to train as IMers and race everything, and we want to work hard and have fun. Progressive and incremental improvement. There's lots of ways to get better, right? You can stall out in a certain event but get better in another one. You can become just technically better, and it might not show up right away in the pool. There's lots of ways to think about improvement. I'm more than the plateau. Plateau is, I put plateau in quotes because something sort of silly. Like if you are a 12-year-old that hasn't gone a best time in a particular event in like 3 months, that is not a plateau, that is reality, right? Like a plateau is like a professional athlete that hasn't seen a best time in their main 3 events for 7 months or something like that. Having 2 meets in a row where you don't go best time in your 100 breast is not a plateau. But we do like to see that incremental improvement so the kids don't get frustrated. I was talking with about some swimmers I used to coach back in the day. They are all graduated seniors, or they're graduating this spring. We had a group where there were some really good young age swimmers, and I remember a girl that was like, well, I'm never going to be able to beat her and her. Well, she's graduating. She swam for Kentucky for 4 years, like she ended up pretty dang good, and she did end up beating some of the girls. She said, I can never beat them. A lot of the whole little group ended up swimming in college, but they all had a lot of success. Train the IM race everything. So well-rounded gives you a lot of opportunities. Your best events change. We had kids whose best events changed that discovered new events this year. We had kids, honestly, this season where like their best event at the single age December meet was a different best event at the February meet, right? Like they had this is what we thought their best event was in September. It was different by December, and it was different again by February. That all helps kind of avoid burnout in that plateau. Again, burnout in quotes. Working hard, having fun. We got to strike a balance. Youth sports all about enjoyment and learning. We had a coach with us for a number of years ago who, in my opinion, was a little bit on the overly intense side. But I thought this is a great quote. Like, are we going to have fun today? Yeah. You know what's fun? Swimming fast. Like, swimming fast is fun. Like, going to a meet and going really fast is really fun. Like, games are fun, and we will do some games, and we have a whole lot of games that incorporate a lot of swim elements to them as well. But like, ultimately what can be really fast is like setting goals, or what can be really fun is setting goals and achieving them and swimming really fast. It's fun. Coach philosophy. So I didn't put a lot of notes here, and I didn't leave myself a lot of time. But you know, I think the sort of resume of our back staff, in addition to, if I can, you know, toot a little bit, like my own resume, is a strong resume. We have very successful club, been around a long time, a lot of really good swimmers, and I've played a strong role in all of that. But obviously, like, it's hard to, you know, like, prove it that you are a really good coach. But the one thing I think that I hope comes through all the time, and you don't maybe see everything we're doing, and you don't have the technical expertise necessarily to understand why we're doing what we're doing in practice. I think the thing that comes through, and I hope comes through, with my coaching is my passion. Like, I love this job. I love these kids. I told them as a collective group that I love them like 7 times already this week, right? Like, I get emotional. Like, there are going to be like 5 races this spring that make me cry from just happiness, right? Like, usually when I tell them I love them, no, it's setting them up. Like, I love you guys, but that was a terrible bunch of streamlines, stuff like that. But yeah, certainly, like, I love this job. I love these kids. I love working with them. I love seeing them improve. I love all the aspects of this job. And so hopefully that comes through. That's, you know, the passionate, and just getting the kids to enjoy the sport is kind of the cornerstone of, if anything, of my coaching philosophy. Looking ahead. Hold on, I'm going to close this window. We have paths, not tracks. So like, yeah, like a lot of times the junior kids move into the junior premier group, and then maybe senior, maybe high school. But there's a lot of, you know, kids evolve, and their role in the sport evolves as we go. So we'll help them find their path. Goal setting, that was a thing that we do not have the goal sheets ready. We talked about a little bit as coaches this weekend, but I still had a couple, wanted to kind of get a couple thoughts from people before we finalize it, but we'll have some goal sheets later this week. So we'll have some formal goal sheets that they can fill out. But also, like, they can just kind of set goals internally. So we'll help them. We'll help them with that as they move through our group, move through the season, and move through our program. So thanks again. Gonna have to cut it off. No real time for questions because I went a little long. We started a couple minutes late, and it's 7:30. We got to get to the junior premier one. But again, thank you guys so much. I'm gonna stop the share here. Thank you so much for hopping on. Any questions you guys have, shoot me an email. Stop by practice. Have your kids ask if they're kid-based questions. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We're gonna have a lot of fun season. Great season. Love you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.